Good morning, guys. Today's project guide is back here again. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. All that fun stuff. It's been quite a while since we've been out here. As you guys can probably assume, it's been snowy, it's been icy. Over the last couple of days, we ended up with like a crazy ice storm that came in and encased all of our vehicles in ice. But nonetheless, figured I'd get out here and get wrenching on this thing again. It's actually kind of nice out today. It's about 26 degrees out, which is nice right now. And we've finally got a few more pieces of the puzzle in the mail over the last week or two. And you know what? Today we're going to jump right into putting one of them on. And today we're going to be focusing on some fuel components. And I'm super excited to bring you guys along with these. First things first, though, I wasn't expecting some of these parts to show up. We have to run over to the parts store and pick up some sealant. So we're gonna go hop in the Focus real fast, take a quick ride, and we're gonna come right back here. So let's go jump in this thing while it's warming up, and hopefully today goes nice and smooth. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, so O'Reilly's Auto Parts carries this. This is Permatex Aviation Forma Gasket, and it's liquid sealant. And this stuff is the number 3 sealant, and it means that it's safe on fuels that contain ethanol and regular gasoline engines. Stands temperatures to 400, resists hot, cold water, antifreeze, glycerin, fuel oil, kerosene, butane, high octane gasoline, grease, and lubricating oils. So this is the stuff that we're going to end up needing to use on our little project today. And let's fly right back to the house, and I'll show you guys this sick little kit that's finally here with all the other goodies that we need for it, and we'll get cracking. Okay, boys, here we are. We are back to the house, and this is the kit that we got. This is our Fuel Lab 51502-1, and this is our fuel pressure regulator, our adjustable fuel pressure regulator, which we're going to be assembling real quick. And today I'm going to show you how to install it on your car, your 2G. This thing is a great little kit. I've already gone through it, so some of the packaging is missing, but this is what you get in the kit. You get your regulator itself, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orifices here. I'm going to show you guys how to hook this thing up. It comes with its own little hardware kit and mounting bracket, which is fantastic. So we're going to put all this stuff together, and the adjustment nut and screw are in this bag. Inside of the box, this is all from Extreme PSI. We also get our AN line, our mounting bracket, our adapter for the end of our fuel rail to replace the old one, and these are -6 black AN fittings and -6 line. So all this stuff right here comes for, I think it's $223.99 right now on sale. You can pick it up at extremepsi.com, and this is the kit that you have to specify the adapter flange right here. This is for a 2G DSM, so if you guys have a 1G or an Evo, I'm sure they have something that you can use for that too. There's tons of them on there, but this is the one I've had sitting around the house, and the problem was I got the wrong adapter, so I had to reorder the adapter, and I don't know what happened, but we ended up getting it. Those guys over at Extreme PSI are great. Every time I need something, they've got it sitting on the shelf. So anyway, without any further ado, let's get started putting this thing together. And that's also why we picked up this Permatex Aviation Forma Gasket, because we're going to be putting all these fittings together in these threaded holes over here, and we don't want to have any fuel leaks after we're done. So I'm going to stick you guys off to the side and start putting this bad boy together. Alright, boys, so this instruction kit here shows you exactly how to hook this up with all of the kit that they give you. Let's see if I can get you out of the sun here, or into it at least. This just shows you you're putting unions in the sides of the fuel pressure regulator, the adjustment nut, and the washer, and the rod go on the top. The bottom is the fuel return, and the bracketry on the back of it is depicted there. So I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You put an O-ring on the inside of each one of the fuel connections. It supplies them for you. So I'm going to show you guys basically how to install this thing, how to put it all together. And the first thing you're going to want to do is get all your hardware opened up and out. It comes with, looks like 3 Viton O-rings and the hookup for the air fitting, your boost reference or vacuum reference, and this is all the mounting hardware here. So we're just going to start knocking this stuff out one piece at a time. And what we're going to do is follow that diagram basically to the T, and we're going to install our gauge. This will be our adjustment, this will be our gauge, this will be our boost reference on the side, boost and vacuum. Fuel is only going to be handled on one end of this, and what I'm going to do is end up putting a plug in this side and putting the fuel return line, which is where the pressure regulator sits. It's on the back side of the fuel rail, and it holds the fuel in the rail. So this basically is like a bleeder style. So pressure hits it, and when it overcomes the spring in here, it lets it bleed past. So that's basically a boost controller for fuel. Super simple. You can hook it up on the right side as the feed or the left side as the feed, and that's it. So we're going to go ahead and start putting this together piece by piece, and I'm going to try to not get Permatex all over the place. So bear with me, guys. Here she is. We've got her all finished. Starting from this side, I'm gonna get out of the sun so you can see. This is the end that's going to attach to the fuel rail. You can see it's got the little nipple end that presses right into the side, and the stock 10 mils hold it in. Or you can use the hardware that they give you, a couple of Allen heads. This is basically how I got it all set up. You got the adjustment on the top. I put the plug in the left-hand side, and I've tightened all these down. This is the drain on the bottom, and this is the -6 AN union on the right, and this feeds the line. So what we're going to end up having is, obviously this goes to the fuel rail, this long end here, and the bottom, the existing line that's on the fuel pressure regulator, has a little nipple on it with a hose coming off of it, and that's the fuel return that's going to go here. So off the rail, existing hose goes here, and then this takes the regulator's place and bolts right on. Pretty simple setup so far. We've got the gauge on the face, we've got our boost source reference on the side here, and everything has been permatexed. Nifty little trick, if you've got the iodized version, you don't want to hurt it, take one of your work gloves and just go ahead and snip a couple fingers off and slide it over the end of your pliers so you don't scar anything up. If you take a look at this thing, it's actually all in pretty good condition. I didn't scratch. I don't think I only got a little tiny baby scratch on the right side here. But other than that, she looks good. She's ready to go. Okay, boys, so it's been a long time coming. I've been waiting to put this thing on the car for quite a while, so I'm super excited. We've got it all put together. We're going to leave it over here off to the side for right now. I'm going to put all the hardware back in this little box and the mounting bracket. Make sure I don't lose any of these parts. And while this is hanging out over here, we have to come over, spin you over this way, and get this area ready. Now, if I was kind of confused about this initially, but I figured it out pretty quick. It's obvious. What you're going to want to do if your car hasn't sat overnight, you're going to want to either pull your fuel pump fuse if you're rewired and crank the car a few times to bleed the rest of the fuel out of the system. It may spit and sputter and start and shut off. That's good. You want it to shut off. If you don't, worst comes to worst, you can pop the back seat and the cover out, and you can unplug the fuel pump and you can crank it a few times that way. Alright, so on the right side, this is where we're going to be focusing. If you look down here, you will see vacuum lines hooked up to our OEM regulator, and this is the part that's coming off. There's a 10 mil on top, a 10 mil on bottom. We're going to take the upper timing cover off just to get it out of the way. That's 2 10s on top of the valve cover, and there's that one long one in the back of the cover here. We're going to get that out of our way. Possibly. We might not need to, but if you have to, you have to. Sometimes you have to notch out the edge over here and make it all fit. But that black hose right there coming off of the stock regulator is what goes to the bottom return line portion, that nipple on the bottom of the new regulator. And we're also going to be getting rid of this fuel pressure solenoid, and this is for cold starts. It's also teed for the boost reference for my boost gauge. We're going to get rid of all that, and we're just going to run one vacuum line, which looks like it may be running from right here at the top of the manifold into the top of the regulator, which is going to be mounted right over here. And the line will then feed in and pick up the rest of the fuel pressure. So the way it works, the engine pumps fuel. You have your fuel filter over on this side. The fuel pump pumps the fuel up to the front of the car, goes through the filter into that line, and is fed into this side. And the pressure is built up based on this regulator, and this regulator will bleed off excess pressure. So if you end up putting a Walbro 255 and your stock regulator is on, it's going to overrun it, it's going to tear the diaphragm on it, and you're going to have a lot of richness in your tune. So what a lot of people do is they'll throw a Walbro 190 in there, and I guess the 190 runs pretty well, no issues. You can keep the stock regulator on the side and you can get some more boost out of it. So this is the first part of the upgrade we're going to do. We obviously have to go for our pump next, but let's finish this up. So we're going to pull those 2 10s off the end of the rail. We're going to get all these vacuum hoses, get that bracket pulled out of the way that's got that little fuel gizmo on it. Forgot the name again, whatever. But we're going to get that stuff yanked out of the way, get access over here. And like I said before, it's been sitting overnight, so it's obviously, it shouldn't spray a bunch of fuel out because it hasn't been run since last night, so it should have all bled off by now. So keep a rag handy just in case. So let's get after it. This is the solution I've come up with for a bracket right here. I used the fuel pressure solenoid bracket, took the sensor off of it, just flipped this mounting plate here. I've also so far taken off the stock fuel pressure regulator's line, and I've rerouted it back over here by that bracket. That's what this gold colored line is. So this can be the return. It just reaches stock. I haven't messed with anything, so I'm gonna have to obviously hook that up and clamp it on good. This is my boost gauge line, and we have the free nipple right over here still. So after a little bit of messing around and tweaking and bending, this is where I've got it to sit. It's actually reusing the bracket from the little electronic fuel pressure sensor back there. I don't know, that's the little sensor that helps with the cold starts. I can't remember the exact name, brain fart. But anyway, we got it mounted right to that. It's held on pretty good. It's nice and tight. It ain't going anywhere. There's only a couple other things we have to hook up. We've got the rail done, and I did have to notch out the timing cover right there just so I could fit that elbow in there correctly. All I did was take a little pair of tin snips and a razor blade. I snipped off the chunk that I didn't need, and I just smoothed it out a little bit with the razor blade after the fact. So everything's looking good. I just gotta get my vacuum sources hooked up, and once we're done with that, we can try to start it up and set our base fuel pressure. Should be fun. Everything hooked back up. We've got our vacuum reference right here, ran over to the pressure regulator, and it's teed to the boost gauge on the inside of the car. Everything is all set, except we have to turn the car and key on, let the fuel pump kick on. We're going to check everything for leaks. What you're going to take off is this vacuum hose that runs to the side of the regulator, and you're just going to plug it with your finger and see what it says, and that'll give you your base. And if it's too low, then you turn this nut, you loosen the nut, and you turn this rod straight down in, and that will raise your pressure up. The tighter this is, the higher it is. And if it's too high, you do the reverse. You just crack this nut free and you loosen this rod out, and until you get to 43, I think it's 43.7 psi. All right, so it's hooked up and running. We are going to give it a few more minutes to warm up some. Yeah, this thing has been started in a few days. Got the mean lifter tick going on right now. But let me zoom in and show you. Right now, we're just under 40 psi. So we're going to let this thing warm up to temp, and we're going to disconnect the vacuum line. It's going to run a little funny, but I'm just going to set the fuel pressure and leave it at 43 and a half, in between 43 and 44. Hopefully that's all I got to do. But everything works. We don't have any leaks. That was a relatively quick install. So I think I'm going to leave it off at that. So if you guys have enjoyed this, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Why don't you subscribe if you guys really like watching us mess around with this DSM. We'll have a bunch more videos coming up in the coming weeks. We got to do our fuel pump next. Part 2 of dynamating the whole car is coming soon. And yeah, make sure you check out teespring.com/stores/today's project guide for the latest merch and stickers and all that. And I'm going to finish setting this thing up. And until next time, you guys take care. Hope the power's on. Hope you're all safe and warm. We'll see you again soon. Adios.